Okay, I wanted to post a more dense, or I wanted to speak through the more dense feelings and post them. Um, because that type of movie, it's the type of movie that makes me think about Aaron Bushnell. That type of just annoying fuck. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, especially, I was wondering because it was especially jarring that the native uh the native boy, he had a disdain for the landscape. He said that he was missing cities and stuff like that, and I was like, they had alluded to the fact that everything was different and they didn't have any more knowledge about what was before the big war. And it isn't until he was dying that he let that part of himself out. Let that part of himself comfort him. I don't have a job. And I was thinking about that. It's part of the reason why I wanted to watch the movie. Because I've talked about how I feel like that modern workforce is a different form of slavery because it's not free to simply exist. You're not allowed to just stand still. When last year, I learned about Rastafarianism, and I feel like the image of a rat race procured in my mind, and that, you know, what I was doing whenever I was a teenager, instead of going to school and smoking weed and partying and hanging out with my friends and doing these really risky behaviors, it was literally like sitting down instead of letting your pace get too slow, because I was also hyper aware of the fact that school shootings could happen at any time, and that's unacceptable for that's an unacceptable ask of a child, of anyone, of a human being. It's an unacceptable ask for them to have been asking me to put myself in danger just because the law said so. So I chose to put myself in a different kind of danger where I was still at risk of being shot, but just not for the reason of a terrorist. A school shooter is a terrorist, but for the reason of someone who is also sitting out from the rat race and has decided to go about the way of gangs or selling drugs and happens to have a gun. I was at danger at both of those spectrums, and they were kind of running parallel. And I wanted to say that because I was thinking, I just popped it, like, I was like, well, I should talk about this perspective as well, because it's a natural feeling. People in Jamaica call present day situation Babylon, and they go to work, but as soon as they can, they go into the forest. People practice Rastafarianism from the video of the people who were sharing their lifestyle, like the way that they live, the way that they choose to be alive. And it just made me think of, like, that is a natural thing. If you asked a bear to participate in pretending to do certain things in order to get something, and then he could go buy a fish, he'd be like, well, you're right here, so I might as well just eat you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know about all that rah shit, but, like, you're looking pretty tasty. Like, they would just look at you like you're crazy. You know what I mean? Because it's a bear, and they haven't been forced into these social predicaments just because they can speak with letters. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sad, and that everyone is just doing this. And another thing, like whatever you said, what if we just all slowed down at the same exact time? Like, what if we all just stopped doing our taxes? What if we all just stopped participating in this stuff, and we started just, growing our own medicine, using what people have learned and what the earth can teach us and what people of other cultures have learned, and using that in our labs? What if we just stop? Like, that's the ideal. That's what I want. And I think that's what we all want. To just live in a society, in a world that's a world instead of a society. Aaron Bushnell set himself on fire, I think, in front of a Washington monument, or he set himself on fire in front of the U.S.-Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. And his last words were, "Free Palestine." I could read, he said something, like he said more than just that. But look him up if you would like to. But that's what I'm, like, that, in case you don't know what I'm referencing. And self-immolation is a form of begging people to listen in the most extreme and selfless way. Someone in Congo set himself on fire, but I don't know his name. I think the media barely reported on it. To like beg people to look at what these tech companies are doing for these batteries, forcing men and little boys into these mines that are collapsing, is slavery. In Congo, slavery. People can understand that it's clear cut. In America, we're just in the house. Anyway, I saw this other cool film that I'm gonna watch. Maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of tired. But, yeah. I considered several times why I was watching that while I was watching it. I was like, this cannot be good for me. Because it's so hard to watch. It's hard to live that, like, it's hard to live in something that is so similar to that. I think that's what makes it really hard to watch that. Because it is what America is. It's what America was funded on. The pain and suffering of children. It's what it's still fueled by. Fossil fuels, steam engines, pumping out CO2 currently right now. You can hear the train whistle blowing. India, or like Congo, places suffering from destabilization done by America, Europe, Canada, China, Sudan. Millions of people displaced, millions of people killed.